Am I right, sir, or am I wrong? Tom Brady gets a ball back from a fan. He finessed him, and the fan didn't realize that he was giving up a ball that could be worth upwards of $500,000. And the NFL weekend was ton of blowouts, but we learned some important things. Kyrie Irving starts a protest. Not he himself, but his supporters started a protest and tried to break into the Barclays Center. What do you call it style? January 6th style, because those are his supporters now. And um, college football questions for the weekend, and of course, the best of social media. So we will start today, though, Ralph, with Tom Brady. So Tom Brady threw his 600th touchdown of his illustrious NFL career, and he threw it to Mike Evans. Mike Evans then hands the ball to a fan, and then said
Okay.
fan, and then the Bucks media team immediately goes back to the fan to get the ball back. And he didn't realize, I don't think, that how much the ball was worth. And they're talking about that they're going to give him signed jerseys, memorabilia, all kinds of stuff. And I think that is, well, if this were you, would you have given the ball back?
Probably. I don't totally understand the value of money. So I would probably be somebody who made that mistake for sure. Um, is it a good idea? No. Uh, because at that point it doesn't really matter what any of these people think of you. If they gave you the ball, they gave you the ball. That's on that's on Mike Evans. And if it was important for Tom Brady to have that ball, then that's something that you can negotiate later. But when you give up the ball, you completely give up leverage over that ball.
Yep.
And so I can understand where it would be unwise. Maybe in the moment, I'd have been smart enough to ask for tickets, like season tickets, since that's a fraction of the worth. Like, give me a couple years of season tickets, and let me come continue to cheer for the team. Since I'm loyal enough to just be giving this ball back. Um, but the other thing is, and my dad's voice is echoing in my mind right now. You say the ball's worth $500,000 to who? Like, to who? If Tom Brady's just going to keep it, then it's just a ball. Unless this ball actually goes to auction, that
Okay.
isn't a thing.
Yes, but the like yes, there's unrealized value and all of that stuff. Okay, think about this. Tom Brady's first ever touchdown ball to Terry Glenn in 2001, it was against the San Diego Chargers. It sold this past summer for 428,842 dollars, and that was his first touchdown pass. He's now done something that no other player in the history of the NFL has done. Throw 600 passes. Drew Brees is the next closest at 571. So, like, this begs the question, like, is this? Whose ball is this? You know what I mean? Like, is this
Yeah.
Tom Brady's ball, or is this now the fans' ball?
Well, the other thing that Tom Brady can do in this situation, with him being more and more involved in NFTs every single day, is have one created specially for this occasion, and give the fan that gave the ball back part ownership of that NFT and put that up on the auction block.
Mm.
Like, Tom Brady has ways to make this.
Yeah, because he did
To
just start a new NFT company.
I'm more interested now in how you would go about rewarding somebody for doing something that was of value to you in the moment. I won't say the right thing or the wrong thing, because that person might not have even been aware of all of their options, and that could have changed what they would have done in that moment.
Yeah.
Um, but that's life changing money for some people. That he had possession of that ball. It was given to him. Could do a lot of good for him. And so I'm more interested in what Tom Brady would do to reward somebody for behavior that ultimately benefited them more than it benefited this person. But I think given that in that same situation, I don't think I would have had a problem. giving the ball back. But that's also assuming I'm a Bucks fan, because if I just bought Bucks tickets and was sitting in those seats, the second that ball touched my hands, I'm probably walking right out of the stadium, to be honest.
See, okay.
If I'm not an actual fan.
See, okay, there is a interesting part about this because as a former player, I would want that ball, right?
Yeah.
But then, and as a person who got the ball, I would want that ball.
Do
But
you have any game balls?
yeah, I have a ton. But and I actually gave my first touchdown catch away. I gave it to Byron Leftwich because it was his first touchdown pass. So, and I gave it to Byron. I don't know why I gave it to Byron, but I did. And so for me, if I got that ball, there's part of me that would be like, yo, I have a financial, like I have a windfall in my hands. But at the same time, I'm like, no, but this is Tom Brady's ball. Like I want him to have the ball. So, but I'm not gonna get into stark negotiations over it and all of that stuff. But I do feel like because I got given the ball, that I should receive some sort of compensation for the ball. Like I don't think that Tom Brady should write me a check for $500,000 or $250,000. But I do think that that there should be some tip, if you will, and some sort of like I might want Bucks season tickets for life. I might want like I'm gonna want something for it, but I'm not gonna squeeze him in the situation. And ultimately, even if he were like, I don't really feel comfortable doing this, let the fan have it. At that point in time, I would probably give the ball back to Tom Brady because he seems like the kind of guy that would reward you anyway. And I think the right thing is the right thing.
So is this one of those things that's sort of like NBA Top Shot, where this ball is only valuable because the number is round, kind of like Barry Bonds' 600th home run,
No.
700th home run, stuff like that? Because every ball from here on out is the record.
Yeah, but true, but the round number does play a big factor into it.
What would this ball like? Let's say that you were the one that was handed. What would you have asked for?
I would have asked for a bunch of signed gear from Tom Brady. Bunch of it. Like I need a truckload of that shit, bro. Like I need a game worn jersey, a couple game worn like I need a bunch of stuff that's actually pretty valuable in and of itself. So like I'll give you the ball, but I want stuff that I can like put in my house. Like this is my collection starter right here.
Okay. Okay.
Like I don't need him to write me a check. I just need him to trade something else that's valuable to him.
Would you? I mean, would you try to negotiate would you have kept the ball in that moment, or would you have made sure that you gave it back by the end
No.
of that game?
I'm keeping the ball until we find out a resolution to the situation. But I'm gonna make sure he understands he's getting this ball back. He's getting the ball back. But we just gotta just come to, whatever our terms are that we both can live with. But I'm not gonna squeeze him. But I might make him think I'm gonna squeeze him, but there's no way I squeeze him out of money for the ball. I don't expect him to write me a check for the ball if that's what I'm saying.
Okay. Do you think, because Tom Brady's probably going to end with probably, if he plays next year as well, we're looking at what, 650 passing touchdowns?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, between the rest of this year and next year, yeah. Yeah, like
Is it
650,
is
660, somewhere around there.
is that a forever record?
Yes. Yes. I mean, who
You
can
think
who
so?
can who can well actually I mean Patrick Mahomes if he plays for as long because he's a 40 touchdown a year guy, 37 touchdown a year guy. If you can keep up that sort of pace for 20 years, then yeah, you got it. But I mean that's hard to keep up that pace. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Even so, total touchdowns right now, Tom Brady's at 628.
Hmm.
And so I had to go to Josh Allen and input the ratio. 306 starts. If Josh Allen, on the pace that he's at right now, with 306 starts, just like Tom Brady has right now, even he'd only be at 565.
Yeah. Yeah.
So somebody's going to have to start 300 games in order to even be in the neighborhood. And Tom Brady probably still has another 20 starts plus left in him.
Yes.
I this
Yes.
might I don't know if this is ever. I don't know if anybody's even going to get to where he's at now. I don't know if we'll
Dude,
ever see 600 touchdown passes ever again.
dude, we're talking about Barry Bonds' run record right here.
Only no, I guess there's still cheating questions. I was going to say only cleaner, but people don't want to believe that Tom Brady's a choir boy. There's a lot of, but I don't think that the numbers are affected by even if the ball's deflated or even if you were recording practices or anything that was affiliated with the New England Patriots at the time. I don't think that adds like a 20% number to his stats or anything
Yeah. No, I
because
agree
he's
with
in
that.
Tampa Bay. He's still getting his, and he's in his mid 40s.
Yeah. All right. So now the NFL weekend though was pretty interesting, and you have some questions, the burning questions from the weekend.
Yes, I do. And my first question, George, for you, my first question is if you look at the NFC standings, you see some really good teams. You see a Packers team that's won 6 in a row. They're 6-1. You see a Buccaneers team that's 6-1. You see a Rams team that's 6-1. And then you see the Arizona Cardinals at 7-0. Do
Yeah.
they belong in the same breath as those other teams? Are they for real?
Wait, does who belong in that conversation?
The Arizona Cardinals, do they belong in the same conversation as an elite NFC team with the Rams and the Buccaneers and the Packers?
Uh, what do you, Ralph? What kind of question is that? They already beat the Rams, and they beat the Rams up. It should be, are the Rams in the same league as the Cardinals? Is the question, because they
Yeah,
beat
but
up
it's
on the
it's within
Titans.
context, right? Sometimes a team has a hot run. Last year the Steelers started what, 11-0?
Yeah, but even though they started 11-0, they didn't look for real. Like I
Okay,
was
so what
doubting them the
so there
whole
is
time.
no that's my question for you. Is there a yeah but? Do you have certain
No,
concerns with this team
I
because
have no.
I,
I have zero concerns about this team, and they were alleviated. Any questions that you had about this team had to be alleviated against the Browns and against the Texans, because the Browns can run the football on everybody except the Arizona Cardinals. The Texans can score a touchdown pretty much against anybody. One, except against the Arizona Cardinals. the Rams can put up good offense against everybody except the Arizona Cardinals. And the same thing with the Tennessee Titans. Derrick Henry can run over everybody except the Arizona Cardinals. This is by far the best
all
team
right,
in
would you
football, and everybody else is catching up right now.
would you feel differently if the Minnesota Vikings game-winning field goal attempt went in and all four teams were 6-1?
No, no, because they not only beat the Rams, they crushed the Rams. That game wasn't even
Okay.
close.
All right. So I will point out one concern that I had, and it's not related to the talent on the field. I think the talent on the field is as good as anybody has, and that's a credit to Steve Keim and trading for all these guys that people thought were washed up, like AJ Green and JJ Watt and stuff like that. He's done a
Watched
fantastic
Kings.
job.
Watched Kings.
Yeah. Uh, and as JJ Watt put it, maybe there is no, uh, maybe we're just effing better than everyone. Like that's what JJ Watt said. And so it sounds like you're on that page. But yesterday, after one quarter against the Houston Texans, who they were favored by 20 points over, they were down 2-0. And do you know why they were down 2-0?
Why, Ralph?
They had run the ball one time against a team that had the second worst rush defense in the entire NFL. Now they ended up running the ball 30 times through the next three quarters. They figured it
Yeah.
out. But it's stuff like that makes me wonder, is Cliff the guy? Like, do
What do you
they
mean? How can you have any questions about Cliff Kingsbury with the way his team is playing right now? How?
because they were only up 2-0 on the Texans yesterday and had only run the ball once and were one missed field goal away from a loss against the Vikings. And he did miss the game where he got
In a,
COVID.
you just have to remember that NFL games are individual events, and like part of a larger thing. So it's not college football where if you play close, like Oklahoma playing a close game against Kansas, combined with all the rest of their close games, makes you kind of wonder what the hell's going on with this team. In the NFL, there's so much talent and so many variables that playing a close game doesn't matter. Winning is
Okay.
the only thing that matters.
All right, then let's talk some rookies because we got one rookie that was very promising, slipped in the draft, and it feels like the media bullied the team into giving him his shot, and he's struggling. Then we have another rookie who struggled through the preseason. Everybody made fun of that team for drafting him in the first place, and he's out to set records. So first, let's talk about Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears. Fields had a rough day yesterday. They lost 38-3 to the Buccaneers. He threw 3 interceptions. Should he even be on the field right now? Should Justin Fields be playing, or should he be doing the thing where you sit back and you learn?
Okay, so I hate to be the bearer of bad news here, and this is no indication on this dude's.
Bearer of bad news about the bad news Bears.
Yes, and that look, man. I do not want to be the guy who but I have to be honest about the situation. And this is no like indication on this kid's career, what he's going to be or what he can possibly do, right? None of that. But he's not ready to be an NFL starter. Justin Fields is not ready to be an NFL starter. And that's okay. That doesn't mean that he sucks. It doesn't mean that he's no good. It doesn't mean any of those things. It just means that he's not ready and that Andy Dalton should be the starter right now. Sorry, people. Here are his stats as a starter. He is 11 for 17, 209 yards and an interception. 12 for 20, 111 yards and a touchdown. 16 for 27 for 174, a touchdown and a pick. 22 for 32 yesterday, 0 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Do you realize that out of all the rookie quarterbacks, none of them are playing well except for, I mean, like you would have to say that Trevor Lawrence is playing the best out of all of them, but Trey Lance ain't ready. Justin Fields ain't ready. Mac Jones is being shoehorned in because their defense and coaching and running game gets them by. And Trevor Lawrence, it's a freeway in the backfield every single play. And then who did I leave out? Oh, and then obviously Zach Wilson, he hasn't been good either. So the idea that all these guys should be able to come in and start immediately, people are forgetting the most important thing. The reason why Justin Herbert had so much success last year, their defense was competent. They had weapons around him, a good running back. Like they were in all the games. They lost them at the end.
Yeah, no, with Justin Herbert, that is a top 5 receiving core and top 5 skill positions in the NFL. You can't argue that. Like that's not something that Zach Wilson has, and that's not something that Trevor Lawrence has. That's not something that Justin Fields has. You have to and how quickly we forget because Justin Fields was the 11th overall pick, right?
Yep.
In 9 weeks, we could be done with Justin Fields. Just as a society, we could just be done with him. You know how I know that's true?
Because of what happened to
Josh Rosen.
Yep. Yeah, but
and he was the 9th pick, right? Like this is.
Yeah, but he's not gonna get treated like that. But you know who he may get treated like? A guy who threw 4 touchdown passes yesterday. Tua Tagovailoa.
Oh, here we go with
I'm just saying, bro. Like people acted like Tua was a bum, but he was hurt. He wasn't ready to be a starter. Yesterday he played pretty well. Threw 4 touchdown passes. Did threw the ball in tight windows, which he had been unwilling to do. So everybody needs to shut up talking about Tua.
Off one game against the Falcons.
That means that he can do it. Just saying. Like I don't think that
The
quenches
amount of
all the.
benefit of the doubt that you're willing to give Tua Tagovailoa after one game against the Falcons, it took you like 45 games to get there on Josh Allen, and you still don't even believe he's for real.
I don't believe Tua yet either. I don't fully believe Tua. I'm just saying the idea that we should give up on these kids after a year when most quarterbacks aren't ready. Like college and the NFL is totally different. I was talking to Justin Herbert on Saturday at the Oregon game, and he was like, "Yo, the biggest difference between college and the NFL is every game. Like in college, you can blow people out and the game's over. In the
Mm-hmm.
NFL, the game's never over. You're up
Right.
28-3 in the third quarter, and then all of a sudden you're in a one possession game with 4 minutes to go, and you have the ball, and you got to get a couple first downs to win. Like that's just how it works. So yeah. So what's the next question?
Well, I do want to point out about Tua because I'm not a believer that he's a transcendent quarterback. I don't think he's better than Ryan Tannehill. I don't think he's better than the person that they gave up on. I don't think his ceiling is better than the way that Ryan Tannehill has played the last 2 years. And we are talking about the Atlanta Falcons defense that is currently 31st in the NFL in touchdowns allowed through the air. So I just want to put that out there. But the other person that we need to talk about is we need to talk about Jamar Chase
Mm,
because he's got 35 catches for over 700 yards and like 7 or 8 touchdowns 7 games into the season for the Bengals.
yeah, he sounds like Justin Jefferson last year. That's what he sounds like. A rookie receiver who, but except for this has been kind of a weird turnaround because he couldn't catch a cold in the preseason. Everybody's like, what happened? He had a year off. See what happens? You draft guys who didn't play last year. And then now the dude is unguardable, untackleable. He's playing good football. And he's got a good quarterback, which helps him out too.
So let's see if I want to get a comparison of Justin Jefferson last year to where we're at with Jamar Chase right now, because you're starting to hear people say like Randy Moss's name out loud. And so I think it's
Shh,
important that you
shh.
brought up.
Don't do
Yeah, I
that.
know.
Yeah,
I
don't
know.
do that. Just compare him to Justin Jefferson last year. Like don't throw the Randy Moss out. Like you can say, okay, we haven't seen this production out of a rookie since Randy Moss, and not compare him to Randy Moss because
Right.
Randy Moss did this, bro. Did this for a decade plus. Like slow down.
So 7 games into the year last year, Justin Jefferson had 3 games over 100 yards receiving, including 175 yards receiving in a loss against Tennessee and 166 yards receiving in a loss to Atlanta, in which he had 2 touchdowns. Jamar Chase is in the same boat. He has 3 games in his first 7. They're over 100 yards receiving, including, and which they actually kind of average out to be the same, 159 yards receiving in a loss at Green Bay and 201 yards receiving in a win over Baltimore. The difference right now is that Jamar Chase has gotten in the end zone like 3 more times
Yeah.
than Justin Jefferson at this point in time. But the truth of the matter is their stats are fairly similar. The only difference being that Justin Jefferson had a couple of like rookie clunker games to start, and then he was kind of up and down before getting more consistent as the season went on. But I think it's a really good comparison, and I don't think anybody this year is saying Justin Jefferson is the next Randy Moss. I don't
No.
think that's
No.
that's happening, and so I want to make sure that we're being realistic, right? We're not going overboard here because that is wild. That is the best argument. Would you say the best receiver of all time?
Probably yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I could give it that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we gotta. You don't want to Jerry Stackhouse these guys. Don't give the MJ comparison and then have them have a 50-yard receiving game and fans boo them.
Absolutely. All right, what's the next question?
That's it, man. That's all I
Oh,
got for NFL topics this week. I
oh
you said it yourself. The Arizona Cardinals are for real. So now I'm feeling
yeah.
a little bit better about being 7-0.
Yes. All right. The Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving. He has decided that he is not going to play basketball because he's not going to get vaccinated. This is his right and this is his choice. Like we both agree that it's his choice. I'm not demonizing him for it. It's his choice. He understands the consequences that are coming with this, and as long as you understand the consequences, you're free to make your own choices. And
That also does not mean that we give him the benefit of the doubt on whether or not he's got good reasoning for what he's
correct,
doing. Just
because he
just
hasn't
the
said
understanding that, yeah. But it could be any. It could just be that it could literally be that he's afraid of needles, or he thinks that he'll turn into a lizard. It could be literally anything. At the end of the day, it's just his choice, is all.
yeah, and that has turned into a bunch of controversy, which has gotten Ted Cruz supporting him, Candace Owens, a lot of other people that like, and now it's turned into this. Outside of Barclays Center, you had people trying to break into the stadium, chanting "Free Kyrie" and "Let Kyrie play." So that protest, if you will, just let me know how silly people are. Like how like that they don't think things fully through, right? Why are you at Barclays Center trying to get Kyrie to play? You're at the wrong location. Go to where go to where the governor and the mayor are.
Yeah,
Go
you
there.
gotta go to Albany.
Yeah, go to City Hall. Dude. This would be like standing in front of a I don't know a meat factory trying to protest pink slime in McDonald's burgers. You're
Or
like
even just
you're
go
like
straight
this
to a
isn't the
jail.
place that did it.
Yeah, go straight to a jail and tell them to let somebody go. Like, we're not in charge of putting people here or letting them go. Like,
We just keep them here.
yeah, that's it. I don't I don't know, man. Is it Kyrie Irving's responsibility to calm some of this stuff down, since he's the man of the people?
If people are doing things in your name, right?
Yeah,
Yes, you do have a responsibility to get them to chill. Like
because it wasn't
or
just
at
the
least
chanting in
say,
this video. You had
yeah,
guys moving barriers. You had minimum wage stadium employees trying to physically restrain people from jumping over barriers. Like, the employees of the
they aren't
team
paid
are
enough
now.
to do that.
No, no. If you have people being put at risk because people are extra passionate about your stance, that I guarantee you is just the flavor of the month thing for him. Like, I don't know what if you're Kyrie Irving and you look at that and you're saying, like, yeah, I'm on the right track. I have people who back me up. Like,
Yeah, but
what?
don't you have to be like, okay, right? If you are, if you are, if you take a stance on anything, right? Would you take a look at who is then backing you and supporting you to rethink your stance or be like, I don't know?
Well, initially, I would say yes, because I'd be like, oh man, if I ended up on the same side as clear grifters with no standards, and whose only goal is conflict, because they believe the whole Littlefinger Game of Thrones chaos is a ladder. Like, people like Candace Owens and Ted Cruz, who you brought up, like, they believe chaos is a ladder. You cause chaos and you climb to the top. Like, that is how they operate. I would think that if I did anything that had those people trying to use my cause as a grift, that I would need to do some clarification, because I don't want them with me. They don't even believe what I believe. They don't believe anything. They don't stand for anything. And I do not think it is valuable to have people fighting for your cause for their own benefit. I think the cause should be the cause, right?
So
So I'm with you. I
it's
thought
almost
that way,
like
but then outside of Barclays, I saw the Black Lives Matter people and the All Lives Matter people on the same side of something for the first time in the last 5 years. And I thought to myself, there's a real chance here that Kyrie Irving thinks that he did some like magic trick unification to bring society together.
Oh, it's
Because
entirely possible, bro. He, dude, this is one of those out of sight, out of mind things. The NBA has started, right? We've watched LeBron James and the Lakers drop 2 games. Dwight and AD get in a fight on the sideline. We've had a debate about the NBA 75 team. Go back and listen to the last podcast or the clips on YouTube, and you will hear that. And like, there's been so much Lamelo Ball balling at an unreal rate. Like, we've seen so many things. We've seen the Nets play well and play poorly. Bucks play well and play poorly. And the idea that like Kyrie Irving is out of sight, out of mind. And this is exactly why when he asked players to protest in the bubble and not play, not even go down there because of the stuff that was happening in the world, I was like, that's insane. That's silly. That's silly talk. Because the thing that you do is when you when you take the microphone away from yourself, nobody is going to care after a while. Like, yeah, he had 30, 40,000 people on his Instagram live a couple weeks ago. In 2 weeks, it'll be 25,000.
and they were looking for the mess.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
And if he's not bringing an actual mess at the moment, if he's just standing there talking, people, you're gonna have some people that are interested. But it's like this, Ralph. If you have a chance, right? If you have a chance to interview Peyton Manning, who just went in the Hall of Fame, that's a good interview, right? If
Right.
you were booking for this show and you had a chance to get Peyton Manning, how exciting would that be to sit here and talk to Peyton Manning for 45 minutes?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But if I gave you the choice of, all right, I'll give you Patrick Mahomes for 45 minutes, which one are you taking?
I'm gonna take Pat.
Because
He's
he's
playing.
more relevant
Yep.
now. Like, it's
Yeah.
not that that Peyton Manning's career is not better. It's just the fact that he is, and Peyton Manning's still very relevant.
Okay, so you've creaked the door open on a criticism that I have of Colin Kaepernick. What I'm assuming is only an unwillingness to take a vet minimum to have a spot as a backup somewhere.
He
To
wasn't
then-
he wasn't offered that. If somebody had offered him a backup role, he would have taken it.
He would have taken a vet minimum because that's always been the thing of people are arguing on his behalf. Would he? Why should he need to lower his price? Well, obviously because there's no job for him.
Yeah,
Like,
nobody offered him a job. But I will agree with the criticism that I made about Colin Kaepernick was that when he didn't speak for himself, he let everybody else guess. Just like we're talking about now. Why didn't you take a vet minimum? Why didn't you do this? Once you take the microphone out of your own mouth, and Colin Kaepernick just didn't do interviews, didn't do this. He didn't even have to do it. Just post a freaking video. Like, yo, I'm working out. I'm trying to get on. I want to play football, because there are people like, oh, he doesn't want to play. He wants to be a martyr. No, I want to play football. I want this. I want that. And then, yes, a lot of it's coming out in the documentary that's getting ready to come out. But he needed to come out and say, yes, I want to play football. Put me on a team. I will take my contract, whatever it is, and let's make it happen. But that's the problem when you don't say anything. I mean, Kyrie just got on Instagram and talked in circles. And yes, it is your own private business, right? But you are also a businessman, not just a businessman. You are a business.
yeah,
And when you are a business, you have to do public relations. And part of that is, if he had a very valid reason, or even just give us something, and then people would rally around that and be like, yo, this dude is right. He, like, if he had said what Jonathan Isaac said, the dude from the Orlando Magic, if he had got on IG and said those exact same words, he would have way more support right now.
What's weird to me is the support that he does have is 10 times more fervent and passionate about this issue than even he is. Because the one thing that I haven't heard from Kyrie Irving is there is nowhere I would rather be than on the court with my team right now. I want to play basketball. And in order for me to play basketball, they need to change this. And I'm going to get online and I'm going to tell you every single day that this needs to change. This mandate doesn't make sense from city to city. Like, if I have the ability to show that I've got antibodies, there's no reason that I shouldn't be on the court. He should be out there making the case for himself every single day. Because one thing you do when you hold a team hostage, you hold any hostages whatsoever, you hold your services hostage, you always have a list of demands, and they are always clear, and you make them public if you can so that you can garner some public support. He does not have a specific list of demands.
Yeah,
He
but that's
just
the
doesn't
problem,
want to
though,
play
Ralph.
basketball right now.
Correct. And the thing is that Kyrie Irving's history is not playing in his favor. Taking a sabbatical last year, being off the whole year, and then not going to the bubble to play. It's like he's trying to punish people because they don't bend to his will, and nobody's being punished. I mean, it's like the 76ers, right? Who's losing in the situation? Ben Simmons.
Yeah. And that's just it. Like the one thing you got to understand about the NBA might not be as popular as football, but like football, remember the year that Tom Brady went down?
Yep. Matt Castle came in.
Yeah. Remember how much everybody complained that, like, man, football without Tom Brady, what are we going to do? We got a quarterback crisis. Like, the whole game is in crisis. The one thing in the NBA that's never going to happen is you're never going to lose enough stars to not be able to focus on the other stars.
Yeah.
The day LeBron retires, the NBA will be fine.
Yes.
And that is wild to think.
I mean,
the NBA will be
but it
fine
happens in the
LeBron.
NFL though too. When stars retire, what happens? There's a game tomorrow. When stars when Tom Brady went down, Patriots still won 10 games. Season went on. There was a champion. I mean, you got to understand your leverage, your place in the game, and all of that stuff. But now on to enough Kyrie, on to college football, because college football is here, and we have a controversy brewing. Because the first thing is Ralph does. Okay, so let's go back. So the AP poll comes out every single week, and I put out my college football top 10 as it should be every week, which I think is the greatest thing that ever happened. But you know, it could just be me, right? So so the AP poll comes out. There are a number of voters who clearly get it. And when I look at the AP poll, like, results are supposed to matter. Results on the field. And me and Ralph got in a big debate. And just so you know, in the AP poll, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 voters out of, how many are there, Ralph? Like 60 something? Yeah, there's like 60 some voters. Out of all of them, 14 have Oregon ranked in front of Ohio State. And that's the way it should be. We saw the results on the field, and Ralph was trying to convince me. Sorry, yes, there are 63 voters. Ralph was trying to convince me that if Oregon and Ohio State both finish 12-1, that the committee will put Oregon, that they will put Ohio State in over Oregon. And I was like, no way, no how. You will literally have to blow up the college football playoff. It will be a huge controversy if it's those two for the final spot and Oregon doesn't get in after you see the results on the field. No way, no how, Ralph.
It'll be a huge controversy to you. To you.
No, it'll be a huge controversy to everybody.
No, it won't. The voters already showing you right now that only 13, 14 people believe that Oregon should be ranked ahead of Ohio State. Do you think all of a sudden the 80% of people who don't agree with you are going to switch up? They're not.
No. But the voters are not the committee, and
But the voters are the people in media who would disseminate the frustration that I'm telling you is not going to exist, because if
it is
Ohio State
absolutely
goes
going
12
to
and
exist.
1, if Ohio State goes 12 and 1, then that means that they are going to, on the way to do that, need to beat number 20 Penn State. They're going to need to beat number 8 Michigan State. They're going to need to beat a Purdue team that beat number 2 Iowa, and they're going to need to beat a top 10 team, maybe up to that point still in Michigan, and then have to turn around and win the Big Ten championship against somebody who's probably going to be ranked in the top 15. And the easiest thing that Ohio State has left on their schedule is to win in Lincoln. That's the easiest thing that they have left, and that's not easy. Oregon is going to have the totality of their season, if they go 12 and 1, measured against what Ohio State had to do to recover to get to 12 and 1. They're going to look at the fact that that they lost to a Stanford team that probably isn't going to go to a bowl game, and that they
Without their
flirted
offensive
around.
coordinator and with a bunch of questionable calls. Yeah, but yes, they would have lost that game.
And then you're going to have to compare the Pac-12 overall to the Big 12 overall. And even if we want to twist our brain into a knot to say that it's equal, the preseason AP poll made it so that it can never be. Like, the toughest game left for Oregon in the regular season left is against a team that the AP won't even. You said 4 voters out of like 67 have Oregon State in the top 25.
63, yes.
So 4 of 63 have Oregon State in the top 25.
Which is criminal. But here's the
The
thing.
only team in the top 25 right now is Oregon.
Yeah, but
It's
but
not
they-
it's not going to be
Ralph,
not going to be a travesty.
Ralph,
This is
Ralph,
going to
you-
if they both go 12 and 1, it's going to be the fault of Larry Scott, the no longer sitting commissioner of the Pac-12, but I don't think anybody's going to be mad about it except for you
Ralph,
and maybe
Ralph,
somebody who writes for the
everybody will be
Oregonian.
mad. No, Ralph. Everybody will sit there and say, "How can you put and mind you, people are gonna be like, Ohio State has looked so good since. Do you realize who Ohio State has played since? They
But we're
played
talking about them
Tulsa.
both being
No, I'm
12
just
and
saying.
1.
They played Tulsa, Akron, Rutgers, Maryland, and and Indiana. That's a combined. All those teams have a very losing record. And then they beat Minnesota too. So like Ohio State has not played a good schedule
I agree with you.
so far. So the fact that they are ranked in front of them is absolute craziness by the other voters. And and if you're sitting in that committee, there is no way that you can say, "Oh, well, but they went and beat these other teams," and you're like, "Yes, they did." But we saw the results on the field, and it was in week 2. Wasn't even in week 1. Like, this was week 2. You can't call it a first game anomaly. You got to just straight up say, like, "Oh man, that team was better." It just is what it is.
Right. So if the college football playoffs started today, if the selection committee today said, "Okay, we're taking 4 teams and one of them is Ohio State and we are not taking Oregon," you would definitely have a much better case for being frustrated, but the problem is 80%, 80% of the current AP voters already believe that to be the case.
Penn
And
State
those
is
are
not
the
gonna
media
finish-
members.
Here's the thing: is Penn State's not going to finish ranked First thing, no way. That's a bad football team, and they beat Auburn, and they apparently love Auburn in the
Okay, well,
polls.
here's the number of teams that are going to finish ranked in the Pac-12. It's the same as the symbol for the school you love.
No, it's not. You liar. Oh, Oregon State's going to finish ranked, and so is
They got to beat
UCLA.
Arizona State, or if Arizona State beats either way, it's going to affect it. And then if they lose to Oregon, they're going to be a 3-loss team, and then they can't get into the Pac-12 championship. If they can't be ranked at 5-2 this far in the season, and they lose to Oregon, and they don't even get into the Pac-12 championship, and that's including if they beat Arizona State, there's a really good chance that they won't be ranked at the end of the year.
Here's the thing. We've seen Clemson get into the playoff with one loss or undefeated, beating a grand total of nobody in the ACC. And if the college football playoff started today, do you know who would be in? Georgia, Alabama, Cincinnati, and either Oklahoma or Michigan. Because I don't think that you can, or Michigan State would have a gripe too. Like, there's no way that you can be like, oh yeah, we have, like, this season is the exact reason why we need college football playoff expansion. Because
I'm with you. But
because
the
there's
point
no
that you're
way.
trying to
Like,
make,
how can you differentiate between Oklahoma, who's played close games against Kansas State? They almost got beat by Texas, looked terrible until they came back. And then they probably should have lost to Kansas if it weren't for a bad call. So you're like, bro,
no, they don't belong. Oklahoma doesn't belong, but there's not going to be anything we can do if they
how do
if they win
how
it,
do you
they're going to
say
eat
that
up the
Oklahoma
oxygen.
doesn't belong? Does Cincinnati belong, but Oklahoma doesn't?
Cincinnati has looked much better than Oklahoma.
Cincinnati's played two.
What would happen if you put Cincinnati up against Oklahoma right now? What would happen?
I have no idea. Cincinnati's played two Power 5 teams, and they've played Indiana, who's bad, and they've played Notre Dame, who's okay. Other than that, they played Murray State, Miami of Ohio, Temple, UCF, and Navy, bro. Like, I'm so now the other question is, okay, who should be in Michigan or Cincinnati? Who should be in Oklahoma or Michigan
Right.
State? Or, bro,
There are
this is
three
the-
teams. There, as it stands today, I believe there are 3 teams that deserve to be in the college football playoff: Alabama, Georgia, and whoever wins the Big Ten. As it
Why-
stands today, because you have to factor in what it would take to win the Big Ten in the last 5 weeks.
What,
You would have to have multiple top 10 wins. To win the Big Ten, you would have to have multiple top 10 wins in the last 5 weeks
Why
of the season.
does okay? So the
And that could mean that either Michigan State or Michigan goes undefeated. And if Michigan
you
State
know
or Michigan
that
goes undefeated,
Alabama
then they're
has
getting
only
in.
beaten 2 teams that are currently ranked, right? 2.
It doesn't matter. Alabama's getting it. It doesn't matter. Like it.
No,
Alabama-
no.
Alabama
You
has
said
the
that
advantage
deserves
of-
to be. No, you
Yeah.
said that deserves to be. So
Yes.
have they earned it over what Michigan has done, over what Michigan State has done, over what?
At this point in the season,
No.
yeah. AP voters have them at 2, right?
No. AP voters have them at 3. They have Cincinnati 2.
Yeah, I think no, I do. I think having watched Alabama, having watched Georgia, those are 2 of the 3 best teams, and whoever comes out of the Big Ten is getting in. That's just a fact. Whoever comes out of the Big Ten is going to be included because of the way the polls are. Like you currently have last week before the AP poll came out, you had 6 of the top 11 teams in the country were in the Big Ten. That's
Yes,
not something
and
that you can
it is
ignore.
clear-
So
it
if
is-
it ends up being, because we're debating Ohio State, but you can't right now tell me that if it's Michigan State or Michigan State or Michigan, if they win out, they're going.
Yes, and I would agree that if Michigan or Michigan State finish the season undefeated, should they get in the playoff over Oregon? Yes.
But what if they
Should-
both finish with only 1 loss, and that 1 loss is to Ohio State?
Then
Then
the
what do you
answer
say?
then the answer is no, pal. The answer is no. All right.
But 80% of current AP voters disagree. There will not be an uproar. I will tell you right now, even if you're right, there will not be an uproar. Nobody gives a shit what happens if a Pac-12 team gets screwed.
Okay. Watch it, bro. They did the last time that it happened, and they changed from the BCS. So because it happened to my Oregon Ducks, and then it happened to after that it happened to Auburn. Yeah, that'll get it changed. The college football playoff will be expanded by next year. Watch it.
Then
Um,
I hope Oregon's sacrifice is worth it.
all right. Now the other question is who wants to win the Heisman Trophy? Because the best three players in college football this season are not going to win the Heisman Trophy. That is Kayvon Thibodeau from Oregon, the defensive end, outside linebacker. There is Bijan Robinson, running back at Texas, and then
Drake London.
oh yeah, and Drake London over at USC. Those are the three best players in college football. But but they'll tell you that the Heisman odds that it's Bryce Young, that it's can Caleb Williams win in Oklahoma? Bruh, he started 2 games. Like, should it? I mean, and I would actually put Kenneth Walker, the running back from Michigan State, up there too. But none of those guys are going to win it because they're going to give it to like they'll probably put like JT Daniels in the top 4. I hate the Heisman Trophy the way it's given out right now. I love the idea of the Heisman Trophy. But the fact that it doesn't go to the player who had the most outstanding season instead of a quarterback of the best team or one of the best teams when they aren't even the best player on their team sometimes. Hate it.
Yep. And it's I think that the best player in college football should get the Heisman. Best player on best team doesn't make sense to me. And I know that there's been years where people with absolute garbage stats, was that year that Troy Aikman won it over Rodney Peete, and they both had like 20 touchdown passes total on the season, but they were at the highest profile programs, and they're both having pretty good seasons. But you got to understand, like Drake London is on pace in just the regular season because there's no reason for him to play in a bowl. I'd be mad at him for playing in a bowl game. He is on pace for 135 catches.
Yeah, bro. He
in
is
a college regular season.
In a Power 5 like conference, dude.
When everybody knows he's getting the ball on every play.
Bro, if you throw the ball in his vicinity, he's catching it. He is upping his if he runs a good 40, he's going to be a top 10 pick, bro. 100%. All right. And then you hate the overtime college rules because we had a 9 overtime game between Penn State and Illinois this weekend. 9 overtimes, and the final score was 20-18. This is a stupid way to end football games. I know that you don't want games to be super long, got a lot of plays on kids, all of that. But this go for 2 every time is terrible.
They never anticipated that it could potentially make a game take longer. If you're only going by 2, only one of 2 things can happen. You're taking away all of the other elements.
Yeah. Interceptions, sacks, like missed field goals. Like you're taking all of these things out of the equation.
It's I don't know. I thought that was a bad football game. You had Artur Sitkowski, who has put together the most hilarious college football career. I think he's at this point put together like a full season of stats. He's completing 53% of his passes in 570 attempts, 14 touchdowns, 22 interceptions. And in this game, in a 9 overtime game, he threw for under 70 yards. Like, or what was it? He threw for like 36 yards or something crazy like that. And this is right on the heels of Brett Bielema talking a bunch of trash about his roster. Imagine what he thinks of Penn State's roster today.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but people came on my timeline. See, Brett Bielema, he's vindicated. And I was like, no, he's not vindicated, bro.
If he was vindicated, his team would have lost. Like, you don't understand. He's either wrong for what he said and the way he said it, or he's objectively wrong because his team was good enough to beat Penn State.
Yep.
And Nebraska.
No, he just motivated his guys, Ralph. No, he
You
didn't.
can't motivate somebody into not being good enough to play for your team.
No, you're 100%. No, you are right. And now it is time for the best of social media, where we literally show you the best things from social media. First thing up, in college football, this was called taunting in the Iowa State Oklahoma State game, which was wild because Oklahoma State was ranked in the top 10 and was a road underdog by a touchdown. But that's a whole
A game that you called, by the way. You got that right. You said that
Over
they
the middle, caught Hutchinson wide open. He'll take it all the way for a cyclone touchdown. They went RPO and now a flag after the play.
Unsportsmanlike conduct. Offense number 8. That penalty will be enforced from the spot of the foul. 15-yard penalty. First down.
The fun police are out here at Ames. Hutchinson
But a great job.
open.
I mean, it was just a quick slant. Safeties had crashed on the play fake.
Oh, come on.
Oh, my goodness.
That
When you
is
see this,
horrible.
this is like the worst call in NCAA history.
Now, 3rd and 1 from the 9. Purdy will throw it right, looking for Hutchinson. Touchdown! Xavier Hutchinson! Oh, is that justice?
Ralph, that being called taunting is probably one of the worst things that I've ever seen.
he was taunting though, right?
No, he what?
He high stepped.
On a scale, bro. That wasn't even a good high step. On a scale from 1 to 10,
Then he should get flagged for not knowing how to high step.
on a scale from 1 to 10 of taunting.
Okay.
Where is that? Where is that?
He miserably failed, and if he was going to get flagged, he should have gone all out. Because
Right?
that was was it the second look back? Because the second look back was like, oh my God, there's literally nobody around. Like
Correct.
that wasn't. He looked back to see, am I going to get hit? Do I need
Yes.
to keep it on? And then he doubled back because he's like, wait a minute, there's nobody within a mile.
Bro.
And then immediately in his brain, he's like, all right, have some fun.
And the level of fun that he chose to have was what on a scale from 1 to 10?
It was a 1. So
It was a
in
1. That's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
he couldn't have done anything less. Besides, like if he had slowed down and just jogged into the end zone, like walked into the end zone, that would have been more egregious than what he did.
That's true. A walk is pretty great. But so in my son's flag football game yesterday, the littlest guy on the team, I won't say his name, but he has a little guy name, and he is the quickest guy too, and he ran for 3 touchdowns, and on his 3rd touchdown, on the way into the end zone, he threw up the 3. So like instead of like the piece behind your head, he threw up the 3. And then he spiked the ball and did the butterfly in the end zone.
Oh,
This kid is in like 4th grade.
I
right?
like it, bro.
He's the
he
youngest
can
and
play for
smallest
me
guy on the team.
anytime.
So like in that moment, it was like, so my son runs over. He's like, "Did you see what he did? Did you see what he did?" And my wife, in that moment, in front of the other parents, is like, "Yeah, you don't do that." Like you. And so immediately I was like, like we're in a tense situation of where, because obviously you don't want to do that. But also it's awesome that he scored 3 touchdowns. And
I have no problem with him doing that at all. None. But you know what I do have a problem with? I have a problem with people talking crazy to LeBron James. Campaign for the Phoenix Suns. He was talking trash, and LeBron James was like, "Hold on, son."
Stay humble now. Stay humble. Come on now. Nigga, you was at home a year and a half ago. Now you want to pop off? Come on, don't do that. Now you want to pop off, nigga. That's okay. All right, nigga.
LeBron was hot, boy. I loved it. Hey, but he's right though. Like there's a difference in talking trash, but like Chris Paul can talk a different level of trash. DeAndre Ayton can talk a different level of trash, which is lower. Okay, so there is Chris Paul being able to talk trash on the Phoenix Suns roster. Devin Booker is second. Then Jay Crowder probably.
And that's his brand.
Yeah, and then DeAndre Ayton
He never
took.
would.
Yeah, and he wouldn't. Campaign is at the bottom of the list, dude. Cam, the other Cam can talk more trash than Campaign because Campaign was barely in the league. Like you can't go and talk trash like that. Like yes, you can talk a little bit of trash if you do something great in that moment. Be like, bro, you still gotta remain humble until you don't have to be humble no more.
Here's where and first of all, LeBron's not wrong. Like that is the perfect thing to have said if you're LeBron and you let that dude get under your skin and you're sitting on the bench and your team's down 30, like that's all you can do in that moment is remind him that I'm the best ever and you were at home 18 months ago. Like you're not going to get a better like that was the perfect trash to talk in that moment. You know it's probably still in his head because it was in your head with the multiple upside down LA hats that Campaign wore during the playoffs last year. Here's the thing, and I think that this goes to something that you have told me that I have adopted and stolen from you is the thing that gets you to the party isn't the thing that keeps you there,
Yeah,
right? And for most people, you have somebody who is like scrappy, talks trash, all that stuff, and then it gets them into the place where they're going to be, and then you got to find some way to reformat and just trust your skills and trust your instincts and be professional.
yeah.
Campaign's talent got him to the NBA. He flamed out,
Mm-hmm.
and somewhere in his head it clicked of like, I'm going to have to scratch and claw for mine, and he kind of became a villain. And this just might be who he is. It might not be a matter of humility at this point. He went from being nothing to getting, I know it's not a great contract. He took a huge discount to stay in Phoenix, but he is now an NBA mainstay. People know his name. He played on NBA finals team, as legitimate or not as you want to make that. And now he's under LeBron James's skin. He's got that Twitter profile picture of the upside down LA hat. And I know nobody takes Ruben Patterson seriously, but sometimes that's a brand that you can have in the NBA when you get in there and you're a pest. And if the Suns are going to be good, they need to have more than one pest. It needs to be more than just Jay Crowder. So part
Yeah,
of me
but
is like, I see where LeBron's coming from.
Campaign can't be a pest. Like he's not pest material. He's
A
not on the
humble
floor enough to.
campaign, a humble campaign is an unemployed campaign.
No, he
in
doesn't
my
need to be
opinion.
humble. He's just got to be just not like there's certain things he can say, certain things that he can't say. But you brought up a good point though in this, Ralph, is that there's a level of humility and where you said what got you to the party is not necessarily what keeps you at the party, and being scrappy matters. And Panay Sewell, rookie, knows that, and he was battling Aaron Donald, and he wasn't backing down.
A little extracurricular.
Ooh, Panay Sewell not backing down. These are two large physical men.
I love that, dude. And Dan Campbell loves it. Nasty offensive lineman. You ain't supposed to back down in a physical match against, like if Campaign were fouling LeBron or something and LeBron gets in his face, he's not supposed to be humble in that moment. Like he's supposed to stand up for himself in the same way that Panay Sewell was with Aaron Donald, because Aaron Donald tries to punk dudes. He wants to physically intimidate them, even though he's a small man. Small man comparatively for the position that he plays. But yeah, so I love that from Panay Sewell.
I love that Panay Sewell understands what he is, which is a mountain of a man. Like that Panay Sewell has an understanding of the fact that he is you a genetic freak. Like he's 6'5", he's 330, he's incredibly quick. His skills are still coming around on the football field, but like it would be goofy for him to back down from Aaron Donald or anybody else. It just like it would have been goofy for Jonathan Ogden to do the same. Like they don't make them like you. So you have to stand up for yourself. The problem I have with what Panay Sewell did is he's going to get the next guy murdered.
Who cares?
Some idiot is going to be like, Panay Sewell stood up for himself. Maybe I should stand up to Aaron Donald also. And they're going to die. And that's on Panay Sewell.
Hey, that's somebody
You
else's
can't,
problem.
you can't, it wasn't, what people need to understand about that moment is he wasn't making Aaron Donald look human or taking him down a peg. He was actualized into what he is, which is the biggest, baddest dude around. Aaron Donald is still like if those two were to fight, like actually physically fight, it would probably be close. And that's horrifying to think about. Like the next person, some defensive back is going to see Aaron Donald and talk trash from the sideline and bring up Panay Sewell's name, and that person is going to be punted into the second deck.
Hey, well, Aaron Donald trains with knives, so that's a whole different thing. All right.
The next guy is going to be a campaign.
Yes. Yeah.
And they're gonna get wrecked for it.
The next thing up on the best of social media, Davis Mills, he got confused. He's so lost in the tall grass being an NFL quarterback right now. He's not ready. I think he will be good, but this season may ruin him and his future opportunities like it did Josh Rosen. So on this play against the Arizona Cardinals, when defensive guys run in, quarterbacks usually pump fake to make them jump, right? And then try to escape. Well, Davis Mills got the order confused. He jumped and then hopefully instead of the pump fake. Why did he do that, Ralph?
I don't know. Was that? Oh my God.
He jumped instead. He jumped I don't know what the hell he was thinking.
Ghosts.
Yep.
Maybe he thought he was jumping over someone coming low. I don't know. That was bad.
All right, the last thing up. So QAnon supporters, the Cowboys for Trump people, they have bailed on Donald Trump.
We supported President Trump because of his fight for justice as well. And for 4 years, we cried, lock her up, lock her up, lock her up. We know she's a criminal. What did the president tell us? If I was in charge of the law, you'd be in jail. Okay, Mr. President, you were in charge of the law for 4 years. At the end of your 4-year time, the only ones that were locked up were men like me and others like me that have stood by the president the strongest.
And he's facing criminal charges for January 6th. Are you surprised that the Cowboys for Trump have turned on Trump?
No, because that's going to be everybody eventually. The only thing I'm surprised by is that Cowboys shop at Men's Warehouse. Like, that's it. I'm not surprised by this because
so are they
one of the things that the check, it's time for the check to be cashed. You threw your support by somebody, you did it for a reason, because to you, words mean things. Words mean things. Otherwise, you would not have supported them. I might not agree with where people's hearts were at when they voted for Trump, whether it was stuff about, thinking that liberalism was a disease and wanting to see those people locked away, or whether it was building a wall on the southern border in the era of drones and tunnels and boats. I might not necessarily agree, but if that was your primary reason for voting for somebody and they didn't come through for you, it might not have mattered to them because they were willing to say anything. But to you, those words meant something. And the fact that those things never came to volition, there's an unmet expectation and the reality. They got to bridge that with something. And Trump's going to find out that a lot of the people that supported him end up resenting him the most.
Yep.
Not the people who hung on his coattails to get ahead, but the people who actually expected something from them, just like all those contractors that he never paid when he was just a real estate developer.
So do you think that they will join his new social media network?
I think at the end of the day, you run into a lack of an alternative. And one thing that I've heard a lot of liberals say is we have to be careful and be vigilant because the next Trump's not going to be an idiot. The next Trump's not going to have no expectations of fulfilling their own promises. The next Trump's going to be smart. The next Trump's going to be smooth. Like the next guy to get in there might mean what he says.
Yeah.
And I think that you will always have conservative support given that the alternative is the opposite, because we have a two-party system. So you will have people who hate Trump's guts who are left with no other choice but to try to further his agenda. You're always going to be left with that. But the fact that people at this point are speaking out, and what they're going to find out what happens when they speak out, is that they were never of any value in the first place. Anybody who's ever hit Trump, they've gotten hit back.
Yep.
And so they can expect
he's gonna
that
call
next.
them losers and all this other stuff. It'll be interesting to see. You guys, that is Reister or Wrong for the day. I'm George Reister. He's Ralph Amsden. Peace out. Catch you guys on Wednesday and share the pod with